Hello and welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried. I'm joined as always by my good friend Mike Luciano. Mike, we had a bit of technical difficulties to start the stream, but we're here now. We made it work. We got this working. They changed some things in the restream backend, and I think we're just a little dumb. But other than that, how you doing, buddy? How you going? Hope it's going.
It's not necessarily our fault, Justin Fried, because we thought foolishly. Look, we're gonna peek behind the curtain a little bit. If we're at Oz right now, we're gonna show you what the wizard actually looks like. We were trying to get a link set up, and then we foolishly thought if we put this link for the YouTube stream in, that it would stream. And apparently, Restream said, let's do the exact opposite and create a totally new thing, which is totally not what we wanted to do. We finally got it figured out after a couple tries, but we are officially here and ready to go. We got some great Jets stuff for you. We're going to go and do a little bit of a repeat of last year and do our Jets roster draft. See how that worked out, see whose players are, whose team is going to win, because I think mine just obliterated Justin's last year, even with the Allen Lazard very high.
Whoa, hold on. I don't recall that being the case at all. We got to check the tapes there. I don't know about that.
Confidence, Justin. You got to have it. So we're going to do that again. We're going to go talk about some OTA battles. We're also going to go and do kind of a little mini series and talk about our AFC East foes over the next couple weeks. We're going to start with New England this week and then Miami and Buffalo after that. But before all that, you can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are on those platforms. And if you want to give us a like on the stream, that really does help. Subscribing, just hit that little button, and that little bell will get you all the notifications for when we go live. So you may have gotten a couple extra today because we had some difficulties. Apologize for that. But that's how you can support the show. You can also pay 99 cents a month. You're a member. Priority replying comments, all that good stuff. But let's get right into the show because we were a bit behind because of Restream deciding to do the exact opposite thing of what we wanted to do. So let's get into just a little quick aside. You know, on the news, they always end with a little light story about like a freaking cat in a tree or whatever. Like, we're doing the opposite. We're starting with the short light thing at the beginning because this is one of the few times, this gets overused a lot. I'm sitting in my apartment, getting ready to make lunch. I see this story come across the wire, and I start laughing at my computer. Haason Reddick, now of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, would you know, is not at OTAs. Nope. Now, again, I get people have been told me, believe me, Bucs fans have told me that it is voluntary OTAs. And yeah, I get it's voluntary OTAs. And there's not a lot of veterans there. As John Mundock says, hey, fellas. Hey there, John. Thanks for thanks for being patient and sticking with the stream while we worked it out.
John on YouTube. Isn't John normally a Facebook guy, I think?
A little bit of both, I think.
Yeah.
But the thing with Reddick is I get that it's voluntary. But for a guy on a 1-year prove-it deal after the disaster of last year with the Jets, like, it's not voluntary for you. Like, you got to show up. Starting quarterback shows up, and guys like him, you got to show up. So when I saw this, I just started laughing because the sabotage is continuing. I don't even know what he wants anymore. He got a contract. Not what he wanted, but a contract. More than I thought he'd get after last year. 8-figure deal. Still doesn't even want to play. I get that you want to live the NFL lifestyle and make NFL money, but your end of the bargain is you have to play to earn that money. And it seems like Haason Reddick has forgotten that little piece of information.
My favorite piece about this whole story is the Todd Bowles quote. I don't know if you saw that when they asked Todd Bowles.
Oh, yes.
Hey, is Haason Reddick going to be at OTAs? Like, what's the deal with that? Todd Bowles was quoted saying, I'm sure one of these days we'll see him. And I just can't help.
We said that for weeks.
Right. I can't help but think of well, there's two. There's the John Cena meme, the "Are you sure about that?" And then the I think you should leave Tim Robinson thing, where he's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure about that, Todd Bowles? Are you sure we're going to see Haason Reddick one of these days?" Because I'm not. This is the same thing we were saying for months. Obviously, it's a different situation. This is not a holdout per se. I don't think there's anything there with Haason Reddick holding out for another contract. He just got a 1-year, $14 million deal, which, like you mentioned, Mike, that is more than I thought he would get. So I guess shout out to Reddick for still getting that bag, I guess. But yeah, it's just a funny situation. And I'm a little surprised. I saw somebody noted this, that the Bucs didn't put any sort of incentives in his deal to like be like, oh, you get $250,000 if you show up for OTAs, right?
I'd pay him like $45,000 a year, and you got to earn the rest.
That after what just happened last year, they would do that. They would put some sort of incentive in his contract to get him to show up, because otherwise, like, he's probably not going to show up, as we're seeing here. It's probably not a big issue. It's not a massive deal, but it is very funny, and the optics aren't very good after what Reddick just did last year, after the stunt, the months-long charade and ridiculousness of that holdout, one of the most ridiculous holdouts in NFL history, I think. The optics of just not showing up to the first organized team activity of the year with your new team, it's not a good look. It's definitely not a good look.
You know what else is not a good look as we transition to our next topic really quick. Zachary Bernard, did you see the video with Stephon Diggs, the new Patriots wide receiver? What are your thoughts on it? I don't have thoughts on it right now. We don't really know what was in there. It's not as explicit as the Chris Forster, that video where he's talking about how much he misses his wife.
Oh, I just saw he was partying with Cardi B. Was there more? Did I miss something?
No, there was allegedly some
some illegal substances.
Yeah, that was what some people say. I don't want to say that, but because I don't know what's in there. I don't know what that was, but I would imagine that's probably not something the Patriots would want, especially since the Jets, they're in kind of a let's tone everything down from last year and kind of stabilize thing.
I did see Vrabel
Patriots because we're gonna do Miami next week and then Buffalo the week after that, and kind of keep looking at our AFC East foes here. Now, Justin, if I had to ask you off the top of your head, how many games are the Patriots winning this year?
My prediction for them has been 7 wins. I think is a reasonable expectation.
I was going to say 6. Now,
I think 6 or 7 is. I've seen people going as far as 9 or 10, and that's crazy to me. I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with the Patriots.
I've seen people within the fan-sided sphere of influence say they're going to make the playoffs, and I'm like, I don't know if.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know if that is a little bit of a habanero on that take there. But looking at the Patriots, who are of course the Jets' biggest rival, that's one of their only primetime games this year is against them on Thursday Night Football. The problem I have with the Patriots this year, because I don't like Drake May because he's on the Patriots, but I liked him as a prospect. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback.
Yes.
The problem I have with the way they're discussed specifically to the Jets is I feel like roster-wise, honestly, 1-53, I think the Jets might be a little better, even with all because I think the Patriots were so bad last year.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me there's a lot of people that are already counting the Jets out as this is going to be 4-13 Arch Manning territory, and there's a lot of people that are saying, well, obviously Mike Vrabel and Drake May is going to work. And that's the problem I have with it, is everybody already, I don't want to say crowning the Patriots because nobody's saying they're going to win the division or anything, but if you look at what's happened, first off, Mike Vrabel, we both want him as a coach. That would have been a great hire for the Jets.
Definitely.
They had their mind made up in probably week 12 they were going to hire Mike Vrabel. But at the end of Tennessee was not good, and I think he bears some of the blame for that. And I don't like people just absolving him of the end specifically of what happened in Tennessee. Josh McDaniels is their offensive coordinator again, which, funny enough, without Tom Brady, is a little limited in terms of how much success he has. Also, everybody hates him, and pretty much the Patriots are the only team that would hire him again. I know that because no team hired him until the Patriots, therefore. And they've made some splashy free agent acquisitions. I'll give them that, Stephon Diggs, Milton Williams, but I don't think the roster is really at a point where they're going to go knock the Jets off of their perch right now. I think the Jets are the third best team right now in the AFC East, and I still think the Patriots are going to be behind the Jets this year. It'll be narrow, 7-6, because obviously Drake May is going to take a big step forward because that offensive line, I mean, that was JUCO level, what they had last year. And then they were throwing to Uber drivers. They weren't throwing to professional wide receivers. So obviously the Diggs and then the Will Campbell pick is going to help with that. But I think they're in stage 1 of a rebuild moving into stage 2. I feel like people are already putting them at stage 4, which I think is a little too irresponsible.
It almost feels like they've fast-tracked the rebuild a little bit by just going on a ridiculous spending spree in free agency, which historically doesn't usually work for organizations. And there's not a lot.
I believe for a while, at the last decade, the teams that spent the most in free agency were like the Browns, the Jaguars, and Washington. So.
Yeah, Jaguars would do it a lot. I know, obviously the Christian Kirk year comes to mind, but yeah, the Patriots, they spent a lot of money, man. Milton Williams obviously being the big one. They brought in Rob Spillane. They brought in Carlton Davis on offense. They bring in Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, Morgan Moses from the Jets. They had Travion Henderson in the draft. I like a lot of what they did in the offseason just to improve the roster.
Sadly, they crushed the draft.
Yeah, the roster, they absolutely did. Their roster is significantly better than last year, and I would say it's better than the Jets. I think because of the offseason that they had, because they had a very different goal than the Jets did. The Jets weren't going on a shopping spree. They were not trying to spend all this money like the Patriots were. The Jets were really tearing it down and starting a new era, whereas the Patriots, I know they brought in a new regime, but it felt, again, less like it was step one and more going into step two, where they're like, okay, let's actually beef up this roster now. Let's bring in a lot of players. And as a result, I do think their roster is better. I don't think it's significantly better than the Jets, but if I say Patriots win 7 games, I'd probably say like Jets win 6. We might just be a little flipped on that. A lot of it is also going to come down to quarterback play. Justin Fields versus Drake May. What can the Jets get out of Justin Fields, and what kind of step does Drake May take this year? I do think he's positioned to have a big sophomore leap because the offensive line should be better. It'd be pretty hard for it to be worse than it was last year. Even if I didn't love Will Campbell as much as a left tackle prospect, he should be better than the group they were throwing out there last year. They got
Darian Lowe and all those guys.
Yeah, the Vidarian Lowe's and the Jets legend Chukwuma Okorafor, who started the year as their left tackle for about 10 snaps before he was benched and went AWOL. And then they, of course, brought in Morgan
fire me, I quit.
Yes, that's what he did. But yeah, I think the offensive line should be better. I don't love their receiving core at all. I don't know how much Stephon Diggs has left in the tank. I don't think Mac Hollins moves the needle, but I do like Kyle Williams. Granted, I also like Javon Baker, and he did not exactly have a very encouraging rookie season. I don't know, man.
To be fair, Jalen Polk is a second-round pick, had like 12 catches. So
Polk was low-key worse. Polk played and was bad.
He had one catch for 12 yards, by the way, and it was in the last game of the year.
Those are Jason Brown.
That is not
crazy.
good.
I do like Pop Douglas, though, Demario Douglas. But right now, I'd say Demario Douglas is in the running for their number one receiver, him or Stephon Diggs, and that's not great. I do like their running back room a lot more now that they brought in Trevion Henderson. I love that pick. I think he might already be better than Ramondre Stevenson, or at least right on the same level. I think the offensive line getting a lot better and the defense adding a lot more talent is going to really help out Drake May. I don't know what type of leap he'll take forward, but I am encouraged by what they did this offseason. Unfortunately, I don't want the Patriots to do well, but I don't know what the long-term future looks like for them. But I think 7 wins this year with a leap from Drake May and a better showing from the two pieces that really held them back last year, which was the offensive line and the defense. I think that's
the problem with May is, like, compare and contrast May to Caleb Williams. By the way, statistically, Caleb Williams was much better than Drake May his rookie year. Look at how those two were discussed. Caleb Williams had a better year than 90% of rookie quarterbacks. Oh, a massive bomb. They overdrafted him. You have to look to find positive things about Caleb Williams, who's pretty good. Didn't he not throw a pick for 3 months? That there's nothing to that. Drake May, meanwhile, turnover problem, got hurt twice. Did not blow the doors off I get he had nothing. I get this was a desert, but it reminded me a lot of the first year with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, where you knew he was going to be good once they got guys around him. But he is getting crowned, I think, very quickly, and I think that everybody's assuming, and it might be correct. Everybody makes assumptions, but they're assuming he's going to take a borderline, almost like Jaden Daniels-y leap in his sophomore year, where he's just one of the elite guys, because now he has a respectable line. I still don't think it's that great. I think it's a regular garden variety line. Decent coach, bad offensive coach, Josh McDaniels, but a good head coach and some actual playmakers. The ingredients are there, but just assuming it's all going to work out for a second-year quarterback who still is very turnover prone, I think that's the big problem here. And I think that's why when I see the Jets immediately put in 4th place behind New England, you can put them there, but I feel like they're being discounted here, because I feel like a lot of the bones of a very good team that the Jets have had over the last couple of years that they kept even when all the Aaron Rodgers stuff flaked away, that's still there. New England, meanwhile, they had to rebuild from the ground up because they had to just detonate this entire roster, and they're still in the process of that. I still think they're a year away. They scare me more than Miami does for the future, certainly, but I think they're a year away.
Yes. Well, you're forgetting Drake May doesn't paint his nails, so he's never going to be discussed in the same way Caleb Williams does, because that's a crime against humanity, obviously.
Zachary Berger with a quick question, though. How many wins does Vrabel get the pass just from coaching over Gerard Mayo as an upgrade?
That's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, it should be an upgrade. I think Gerard May was given a very raw deal in New England, but he was in over his head in his first season. It would have been nice to see him get another opportunity just as a football fan, but when very not going to make that move. I don't know. I mean, compared to what? Compared to like what they did last year, like how many wins is the step up from Mayo to Vrabel? Maybe one or two. I don't know. I don't know what it's really hard to quantify. What would you answer, Mike?
I would say probably 2 extra wins. And that's not to say Mike Vrabel is only that much better of a coach than Gerard Mayo, but you really don't see the impact of like coaching wins until you get a really talented roster. Like I think if Mike Vrabel was the coach in Cincinnati over Zach Taylor, I think we'd see a huge improvement from maybe like 8 wins to, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 wins. I think that's the kind of, like with this, I mean, Bill Belichick at the end was struggling to win games. Like sometimes you just don't. You can give Gordon Ramsay all the the microwave Lunchables you want. He's not making a good meal. Like eventually you got to give Vrabel enough to for him to prove that he's that good of a coach. I just don't think they have good. They've given him a lot of it, but Milton Williams never really been a starter. That's your big offseason acquisition. I think it's going to be a little more of a problem, even with the easy schedule that I think a lot in the national media are kind of making it seem.
Honestly, the more I think of like doing predictions like this, the more I realize it's just better to give ranges, which maybe that's a cop out, but like instead of me saying, hey, the Patriots are going to win 7 games, I think a range for them is 6 to 9 wins. Seems like a relatively reasonable expectation for them. 6 wins if, the roster isn't as good as we think and May doesn't take the leap that we think he will. Maybe they even win 5 games if that happens. And then if everything goes right and Drake May if everything goes right, maybe they can win like 10 games. But I think a reasonable expectation is anywhere between like 6 and 9 wins, I think. And I'd put the Jets in a very similar tier to that. I think the Patriots they have a better roster. I don't know how much difference the coaching is going to make, but they have a better roster. And I think there's a higher ceiling for Drake May this year than there is Justin Fields. I don't think Justin Fields is going to magically break out and be a top 10 quarterback this year. I think there's a world where
I think he'll be better than he was, but
Oh yeah, I think he can be better than he was, but I think there's a world where May positions himself as a top 12 quarterback this year. I'm not saying that's the most likely scenario, but I think there's a world where that happens, and it's more likely than Fields doing that at this stage.
Right now, May 28th, who accounts for more total touchdowns, rushing pass, Drake May or Justin Fields?
Fields. I think Fields just because he's going to have a lot of rushing scores and he's going to be in a lot
of May runs too, so
yeah, but not to the same degree. I don't think I think the Jets, at least they'd be smart to, would be using Justin Fields in a lot of design runs, especially as they get towards the red zone, especially given how inefficient Breece Hall was in red zone with red zone touches last year. Using Fields in that capacity makes a lot of sense to me. I think Fields is going to have a big fantasy year. So if you're drafting right now in fantasy, I'd strongly consider picking up Fields.
Zachary Berner with another one. How much difference is the Jets roster to the Pats? I think it's kind of the same with the Jets being a little better.
I think it's the other way around. I think the Patriots are a bit better. And again, I think that's just a product.
Really? I would disagree.
I think it's a product of the Patriots going on a big spending spree or shopping spree this offseason. I don't know. We'll see, because we're going to get into that Jets draft in a bit. And when I was putting together my somewhat big board for this, once we got past the first few names, I was like, man, we're struggling. We're struggling now. I'm like, I got Alan Lazard on my big board and stuff. And I don't know. I think looking at that Patriots roster, I think they should be better. Like, I think the Patriots have 15 guys there that are pretty solid players. That if I'm just looking at their roster right now, that I think are going to be average to above average starting players, maybe even above average starting players. And I don't know
if you just do like a like for like star comparison. Like, who's better right now, Milton Williams or Quinnen Williams?
No. I think the Jets have better high-end talent. I think the Jets Sauce
Gardner over Christian Gonzalez, Garrett Wilson over Diggs, the Hall over Henderson. The offensive line collectively for the Jets is better.
I'm not willing to give the Jets the running back room at this time.
Travion, we don't even know if he's good or not.
I think he's good. That's a TBD for me. That's a TBD. Breece Hall is better than Ramondre Stevenson. Even after last year, I still think that. I think Travion is very good. I'm a big Travion Henderson fan. But the O-line, I think the Jets have the advantage, even though the Patriots made some moves there. The defense, I think, as a whole, the Patriots are going to be better at. I think they're going to have a better defense.
I can't get that far.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I think they got a couple star guys. I think Harold Landry actually has a little bit left, but I think they went so heavy on offense, which they needed to because it was so bad. But
I think
there's a lot. I don't love their linebackers. I don't love outside of Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, but I don't love their safety room.
I think New England has fewer weaknesses than the Jets do at the moment.
Carlton Davis will be big for them, though. That was one where I'm like,
yeah,
that would have.
Carlton Davis is a very big pick. I mean, that's one of those older free agents that would have maybe made sense for the Jets if they didn't go after Brandon Stevens. Like bringing in, honestly, dude, I would have loved that so much more. If they signed Carlton Davis instead of Brandon Stevens and then drafted Azareye'h Thomas to just be Carlton Davis' replacement, that would have been awesome. That would have been so much better, in my opinion. I wish the Jets did that.
Mike Zimmelman. I think Justin's right about Fields having a good fantasy season. There's going to be a lot of Justins on this podcast in the next year. After voting to keep the tush push, I expect Enstrom to get creative with QB1 near the goal line. Supposedly, Fields has tried that like 11 or 12 times, and he's only failed once. So.
Yes, he's been very efficient in tush push situations. He's also just been very efficient as a QB sneaker. I put out the numbers. I forget what they exactly were, but he's been one of the best sneaking quarterbacks in the NFL over the last few years. And I think the tush push not getting banned is big for the Jets in that regard.
I think the key too is like you got to have a quarterback. It's weird that the Bills aren't great with it with Josh Allen because typically if you have great lower body strength, like Hurts does it well, Fields does it well. The proto version with Cam did it well. Like
you know what? It's also I think the center really matters. And who's the Bill center? Is it the other Connor McGovern, the non-Jets Connor McGovern? Is he the play center?
I believe it was.
Yeah, so he's not bad, but he's not Landon Dickerson. He's not Jason Kelsey.
John Munduck says, as long as we get to the goal line. Yeah,
that's a fair point. That might be a challenge at times.
Let's go and talk about the guys who might help Justin Fields in those goal line tush pushes. The centers.
Yeah.
Because there is a bit more of a competition than I think a lot of people assume. We assumed, and maybe that was wrong because assuming makes an ass out of you and me, as my grandfather would always say. But that the starting offensive line was pretty much set. Fashanu left tackle, Simpson left guard, Tippmann center, right guard Vera Tucker, right tackle Membu.
Yeah.
Then this comes out where it seems like there's a little bit of a competition between Joe Tippmann and Josh Myers. The fact that Jets got Myers was surprising to me because I didn't think he was a particularly good starting center, but I felt like he probably may have gotten a 1 year, hey, maybe it didn't work in Green Bay, try it out here kind of deal. Because I still think there's a lot worse centers in the league than Josh Myers. So the fact that he signed a backup deal with the Jets and they're viewing him as interior depth, little surprising to me. Now this comes out, and the fact that Tippmann's starting spot is not safe, I'm going to be honest. We mentioned this with the whole Mason Taylor-Ruckert thing about how if Taylor doesn't beat Ruckert out, that's just a bad look for him. As much as we like Myers as kind of a sixth offensive lineman and a pretty versatile, backup kind of thing, if he just straight up beats out Joe Tippmann for the center spot, that is not a good look for Joe Tippmann at all. That really calls into question his future with the Jets, even in this immediate year, because it's like, why keep your second round pick center if you can't beat out Josh Myers?
Yeah, I know we're not supposed to assume, the ass out of you and me, whatever. But listen, it'd be like if the Jets. It'd be like, Xavier Newman. I'm not going to assume Xavier Newman's going to be a backup this year because maybe he beats out Elijah Vera Tucker. Like, Josh Myers is fine. He started, I think, 50-something games in his career. He's been a starter every year of his career with the Packers. Not a great one, a bad starter, but a starting caliber player nonetheless. I think he's a great sixth offensive lineman. That is everything you would want, and I think he is basically an upgrade over Wes Schweitzer, a healthier, better version of Wes Schweitzer. Joe Tippmann was, I think, a borderline top 10 center in the NFL last year. Nothing on the tape, nothing with the numbers would indicate or suggest anything otherwise to me. I don't know how serious this kind of competition is. Obviously, people will point to they're bringing in a new regime as Zach is saying here in chat. I think the center competition is just your healthy new coach earn your role. Basically, you got a new regime coming in. Aaron Glenn's here, new offensive coaching staff, and we're saying, hey, everybody's got to earn their spot, right? And I get that. I do understand that, and the sentiment makes sense. But I don't think everybody should. I don't think Sauce Gardner should be competing for a start. Not saying Joe Tippmann is Sauce Gardner, but I don't think Sauce Gardner should be competing for a starting job with Chris Boyd because they signed Chris Boyd as a free agent. I don't think everybody should be competing for a spot. Some guys, it's just, they're good enough that they shouldn't be doing that. I think Joe Tippmann is in that category where it doesn't really make sense to me, and I'm not sure how much of a serious competition this is going to be, on top of the fact that The Jets clearly did not sign Josh Myers to compete for a starting job. They paid him backup money. He's getting $3 million a year, which is.
Well, I guess that's what makes it alarming is the fact that this is even being discussed when he was signed to be a backup.
I don't see it as alarming, though, for Tippmann. At least it shouldn't be, because nothing he's done on the field makes me think he's not like I'm predicting like if it wasn't for this shit, even with this shit, I'd still say Pro Bowl leap this year. Like, I think he was extremely good last year. He was a fantastic center. I believe he was the 8th highest graded center by PFF.
As Garrett Goodlander says, 9th. It was just the snapping issues for Tippmann.
Yeah, the snapping issues, and those really went away as the year went on. Those were really a thing in the summer and then a couple early in the year, but it wasn't a big thing.
It's weird to see a 6'6" center too. Like, maybe he is a guard trying to be a center. Who knows?
That's the one, when people have been talking about the tush push thing with Justin Fields, the one, no pun intended, pushback that I've had.
Oh, come on.
That was not intended. That was just the word.
Get out of town.
The word I was going to use. The one pushback that I've had is I'm not sure how effective Joe Tippmann would be in situations like that, because the one thing he does struggle with is his base, because he's so tall. He's so big. You don't really see many centers at 6'6". I know Mitch Morse did it for the Bills for a few years, but it's not common. And
Jason Kelce was a smaller center. He was like 6'2", 290.
Which is generally what you want when you're want a center to have that low center of gravity, the anchor to just plow through in the tush push. I don't know how effective Tippmann is in situations like that. So maybe if that's a situation where the Jets plan to implement a lot of under center or a lot of short yardage runs, and I don't know. Maybe they're looking at it from that perspective. Either way, Joe Tippmann is a significantly better football player than Josh Myers, and I don't think, even if they're calling this a competition, I don't think it will be one. I don't think, even as we get into when we get to training camp in July, we're getting into the second week of training camp. I don't think we're going to see a situation where Joe Tippmann and Josh Myers are equally splitting first team center reps. I think that's just a little talk. I think I believe it was Darren Muji that said it, that it was, hinted at it being competition. And then John Simpson said some kind of quote where he was like, yeah, those guys are competing their asses off. I don't think this is a real competition. If it is, I already have questions about the evaluation process of this new regime, because sure, everybody in theory, quote unquote, should be fighting for their spot. Some guys have already earned it. Joe Tippmann is one of those guys who's already earned it.
Mike Zimmelman, I think Tippmann will be fine, especially if he and Braylon Allen can get back to those running lanes we saw him make at Wisconsin. Well, that's what they're trying to do philosophically, offensively. So
definitely. Yeah.
And then Zach Berner, what is your current faith in Tanner Engstrand? He alluded to that in other comments.
The other comment, which was, I think he asked if Engstrand
is Tanner Engstrand Fields' best OC ever. Well, we don't know.
Yeah, that's to be determined. I mean, granted, the bar is very low for Justin Fields. I will say, I think Arthur Smith's a fine offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a bad offensive coordinator. I don't think he's anything special, but he's not bad. And if Smith is probably the best offensive coordinator that Fields has had. I mean, who else? He had Luke Getsy in Chicago, and I forget who he had his rookie year, but it likely was not anybody good. He had.
I gotta go look up what wretched soul.
2021 Bears OC. I don't think it was Getsy. I think Getsy got there 2022. I don't know who was there in 2021.
Bill Lazor.
I barely know who that is. Who the hell is that?
I believe he's with the Texans now.
See,
I think he's like their quarterbacks coach now with the Texans.
Was that his only OC?
He was like Andy Dalton Bengals and Ryan Tannehill Dolphins. That was Bill Lazor.
He's from Scranton. Cool.
So I would say the potential though of what he could be, I think, is pretty high. Because again, you're hoping you got Ben Johnson. You're hoping you got a Ben Johnson disciple who can provide 75% of what Ben Johnson did. And if he does, not only is he going to be Justin Fields' best OC ever, he's probably going to get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's going to be a Baker Mayfield situation too, where Fields isn't that good to where, he's not good enough where if he has a good year, they think, oh, it's just the scheme, and then they hire him away like they keep doing with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the fear is that Engstrand is too good. Let's hope he's that good where he can get outside interest.
I just want him to be confident. It's only been a few years since the Jets had a competent OC. Mike LaFleur was a competent OC. He wasn't special, but he was a competent OC.
A lot of you thought he wasn't, but yeah, he was.
Brian Sternbeck brings up a great point here. He said organization declared Fields the starter in April. Calling it a competition at center is quite puzzling. Yes, 100%, 1,000% agree. And now, obviously, the difference there being the optics of it, hey, we're signing this guy to be our quarterback. And I think part of the appeal of the Jets for Fields was that the Jets were going to give him the starting job. And I don't know how many other teams would have done that. Maybe Pittsburgh would have done that if they didn't go
Oh,
after.
it definitely would if they didn't get Rodgers. Look at
Yeah,
their
if they
options are now.
Right. If they didn't go after, if they didn't sell their soul to go after Rodgers and just willingly hold themselves hostage, maybe they would have given Fields a starting job. I don't think he wanted to go back there. The Jets gave Fields a starting job.
Rodgers was on the Jets by May 28th, right?
Oh, well before. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy.
It was before the draft that Rodgers went to the Jets. But yeah, I think that is, I mean, there's differences, but is a great point that the difference between the gap between Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor is much less significant than the gap between Joe Tippmann and Josh Myers in terms of talent.
Let's move on to our final segment, our big one for the day, the Grand Poobah. We are going to do a little bit of a roster draft, a little fantasy draft thing.
So, Mike,
dueling teams, and I'm going to defend my title as Justin tries in vain to knock me off the top spot.
I am going to do my best. Now, when we had those technical issues at the beginning, Mike, I had the screen all set up already, but I don't have it set up right now. So I'm going to have to set it up live. So
all right. See, this is why you come to the Jet Press for
what is the thing? If it will do it live, right?
We will do it live, yes.
This should be, let me share the right thing. All right, how's that look?
This is riveting entertainment, I know.
How's that look? Well, I can make this bigger.
That looks fantastic.
Yeah, it all set up. It was like perfect. Okay. All right. Jets roster.
Right, who's picking first is the question.
We did this last year. I don't remember the results, but apparently Mike is saying that you're saying you crushed me with this, right? You're saying you absolutely killed it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. Do you want to pick first? Or you want me to go first? I'll let you.
Let's have Justin go first.
Okay. So I'm an idiot, and my big board is on my phone, but I already know who I'm taking first. I don't need to even consider this. I will say though, I think there's a top three, a very clear top three, at least on my board. So you're gonna get two of these guys because we're gonna go snake draft. With the first overall pick in the 2025 New York Jets roster draft, me, Justin Fried, selects Sauce Gardner.
Yep.
I don't care about the quote-unquote down year. Guess what? In that supposed down year, Sauce Gardner still led the NFL in the fewest catches allowed by any player. I think Sauce Gardner is the best player in this Jets roster. I don't really care about what Twitter narratives will say. This is the best player on the team. I think he is still a top 3 cornerback, maybe top 2 cornerback in the entire NFL. This was an easy pick for me. I don't know about you. I assume you would have done the same.
I would have done the same.
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy discussed like Sauce.
This is going to be really interesting because, again, I'm telling you, I think that the talent level is going to fall off pretty quickly. Like, by the time we're getting to, like, 7 or so, I forget what happened last year. Like, I want to look at some of those guys that were drafted back in the back half of our 10s.
Let's get the obvious one out of the way here with my first pick. It's Garrett Wilson.
Ooh, okay. That wouldn't have been my pick too, but that's fair.
I bet. Garrett Wilson.
I mean, he would have been my pick.
Guy who has played for 3 years and has already earned the label quarterback proof because he's played with about 46 different quarterbacks, and he's been good with all of them, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Now he gets his college buddy, Justin Fields. It seems like the Jets are going to target him about 20 times a game, considering the lack of talent elsewhere. So big things coming in the future for one Garrett Wilson, who I still think is going to get a huge $30 million a year contract out of the Jets when this is all said and done. Yeah. We're going to move on to the second round, and
you go again.
There's a pick between one of 2 brothers. I think you know the brothers I'm talking about, Quinnen Williams and Quincy Williams, and I went with the safer one. I went with Quinnen. Because Quinnen, another guy who, because the Jets have been bad for literally his entire career, doesn't really get the shine. He reminds me of Aeneas Williams, who was just on those terrible Cardinals teams for his whole career, but was always regarded as one of the best cornerbacks in the league and a well-respected guy. I feel like Quinnen's in that area now, especially too because he plays in the same city as Dexter Lawrence. So he's often viewed as inferior to Dexter Lawrence. That kind of overshadows him, but a rock-solid player. Any defensive coordinator would love to have Quinnen Williams on their team. I got my first too. As Zach says too, it's crazy people think Sauce is trash because he's like 8th best and not first. Well, 8th best is too low. The lowest you could put him is like 4 or 5.
Last year, I think you could argue he was like the 8th best corner. But if you're just looking at his 3 years of his tape on his resume now, I don't think you could put him any lower than 5. Really, I'd put him.
Surtain's the only one where you could probably put him over.
And the thing is, even Surtain's down year was significantly worse than Sauce's down year. Surtain's down year, he gave up like 700 something yards. it was like 2023. Pat Surtain was not very good. He had a bad year. It's obviously this past year he was out.
This year, yeah,
he was incredible. Like we're just looking at the last 3 years. Like man. Anyway, I would have probably gone Quinnen.
You put a Sauce playing receiver, by the way, Justin.
Yeah, man, he switched positions. Whoops. Hold on.
Travis Hunter, the trendsetter.
I swear I typed. Because I copied the thing. Whatever. We're fine. I would have probably gone Quinnen over Garrett, but I don't hate Garrett over Quinnen. That's totally fair. Look, man, Garrett Wilson's got to make a Pro Bowl this year. We got to get some accolade on his resume other than Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's got
a real quarterback would help, I would say.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to feed him so much that he might make it anyway. But all right, I'm in an interesting spot here because I think now it drops. I know you said you were between the two Williams brothers. I mean, one of these picks I have to pick Quincy. I'll do. I know that, so I'll put Quincy Williams here. We'll have the two Williams brothers go round 2. I honestly, I don't know if this is a crazy take, but top 5 player on the Jets. Give me the other linebacker. Give me Jamie Sherwood.
I don't think it's that crazy.
I don't know if that's a little early for him right now, but I chance to even be a better player this year than Quincy Williams. If we're just projecting on, because how I'm doing this, I'm projecting how they're going to do this year. And Quincy's going to be 29, I think. He still was a late bloomer, right? But I don't know. I don't know how many more years he has of great elite level play. He wasn't as good last year as he was the year before, which was an extremely high bar. He was an all-pro the year before. But I don't know. I don't think it's crazy to say Sherwood might be in Williams' tier, if not already surpassing him as soon as this year. But I'm happy taking both of those. I'll grab both of the Jets linebackers. Going all defense here with my first 3 picks.
Well, that's where most of the talent lies. Now, what I'm going to do, looking at this big board, is I'm going to take a guy who his value is at his lowest right now.
Yep.
I think there's something there because there's very few offensive playmakers on this team, but they have one outside of Garrett Wilson, and that is Breece Hall.
You're buying low. I respect it.
I'm buying low on Breece Hall because even buying low, I mean, it wasn't as low as people are making it seem. I think that the way people are making him seem like he's a foregone conclusion to be traded, I think is a little – I don't necessarily agree with that. I think in the right scheme, this is a 1,000-yard player, one of the better receiving backs in the AFC, a guy who I think Tanner Engstrand coming from Detroit with how they use Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, I think he's got a good idea of how Breece Hall should be used. I think he's going to do that. That'll be priority number 1 because nobody's touching the ball outside of Justin Fields more than Breece Hall. This is where it gets a little tough because there's about 4 guys I'm really wrestling with here.
Hey, man. Brian said drafting 2 of the same position in the first 2 rounds is part of what got Idzik and McCagnon fired. Listen, man.
And 2 off-ball linebackers.
I'm going BPA here. Listen, we're not really accounting for position value. Thomas Hennessy might be my next pick. We don't know. We'll see.
Or Austin Mattner. By the way, Thomas Morstead, friend of the program, got a job with the 49ers. So
he did.
I assure you that was a Brant Boyer, Robert Saleh call.
Somebody mentioned it earlier. Chaz Surratt also just signed with the 49ers. So Chaz Surratt and Thomas Morstead both reuniting with Brant Boyer and Robert Saleh. That makes so much sense.
I guarantee you if Saleh's there next year, I guarantee you Solomon Thomas is going to end up on that team.
Well, he went to Dallas where he reunited with Aaron Whitecotton, who was the D-line coach.
It's all Nepo everywhere. It's all connection. Now, there's a couple different spots I go. I think I'm going to take the first big, bold risk in this countdown. It's going to be an offensive player.
Okay.
It's not going to be Justin Fields. He's going to come a little later.
That's fine. Yeah,
it's a guy that it took me a while to come around on him, but I am aboard the Armand Membu train.
No!
Armand Membu, right tackle. It was him and Fashanu, and honestly, because they're pretty even, I thought Fashanu was okay last year. I just liked Membu as a prospect a lot better than I liked not a lot better, but better than I liked Fashanu as a prospect. So he wins out. Armand Membu, the new right tackle of the future for the Jets. I'm building my ideal offense here, and then Quinnen's going to go solo on defense.
I can't believe you sniped me like that. That's my guy. This has been my guy for months, and I was going to take him. That was my next pick. Was going to be Membu. Oh man, that sucks. Well, you know what then, Mike. Well, hold on. Well, it doesn't really matter the order I make these picks. Just for the optics, I'll take an offensive player first. All right, I got to get an offensive player on the board here, right? And so now I'm looking at the board. it's the offensive linemen are very interesting evaluations here. Like, do I take Fashanu and just hope for that second year leap, or do I take a guy, multiple guys who were objectively better than Fashanu last year? I said no position value, right? So I don't really care. Yeah, you know what? I don't give a shit about position value. Give me left guard John
That
Simpson.
high.
I think
Okay, that much of a convert.
I'll take your guy. You love John Simpson, at least more than I did. John Simpson, I think, was the best offensive lineman on the Jets roster last year. I thought he was fantastic. I will project that he has a very similar year, and I don't really care about position value. And we'll stick with the theme here of going with guys that I haven't liked as much, but you have. With my 5th round pick, give me a pass rusher. Give me Will McDonald. I'm buying the stock. Will McDonald put on 15 pounds of weight. He's already there as a pass rusher. If he can even just become competent as a run defender, hey, man, this is a steal in the 5th round. If he's competent as a run defender, we're looking at a Pro Bowl season for Will McDonald. I'm happy with that.
Am I really going to go offense with my next 2 picks? I think I might.
You might, dude. The defense, it drops off.
It does drop off a little bit, but also all of our early picks were, 4 of the first 5 were defensive players.
Real question is Derek Nottie getting
probably not going to get. You might even start. Byron Cowart supposedly is ripping it up.
I mean, based on one open media meets.
Yeah, well, that's all the information we have to go on. So I'm going to go. Somebody's going to have to take this plunge. And I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to go Justin Fields here.
Wow. Okay. I was not going to take him this early. I am okay with this. That's fine.
Because
you can have him. No offense.
He's going to get picked at some point. And I know this has been said by everybody that has ever come across him in the last 7 years. But if you get his ceiling or close to it, this team can really, I think, move a needle. Can they put all the pieces together? I really don't know. But, I mean, this is a guy I was excited when they signed him. You were excited when they signed him. He was a guy where it's really hard to find too many Jets fans that are too peeved about Justin Fields being their quarterback. Because they know if it doesn't work, they're going to be in, Arch Manning, Drew Aller, Lenore Sellers anyway. And if he does, he does. So Justin Fields, this is my Arian Smith risk.
I will point to the fact that if we're comparing Jets Patriots and we're saying Justin Fields is a top 10 player in a Jets roster, that's pretty rough. That's not a great look. I love Fields and I love the signing. I'm really happy they made that move. I think there's better guys here, unless you're just waiting. Position.
I am going with another offensive player. I'm going with another guy to position of need, and I'm going to go Olu Fashanu and take both the tackles.
So that's fair. That's the O-lineman.
Because Fashanu, he looked really bad to start out, but he was at right tackle. Then he goes to left tackle, which is where he's played before. What do you know? Halfway decent. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with like a full season and no Rodgers stuff. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do.
There's a lot of projecting, I think, with your draft, where you're hoping for that Fashanu leap. You're hoping that Fields can show more than he's shown in the past, that Membu can step in and immediately be a
You're hoping Will McDonald isn't the worst run defender in the entire league again.
He put on 15 pounds. The proof's already in the pudding. All right. All right. Where do I want to go here? I want to double up on one position. I just don't know which position it's going to be. Give me Joe Tippmann.
Okay.
I don't give a shit about.
You want to take Josh Myers too, just in case?
No, you want to take Tyrod Taylor just in case? I don't give a shit about all this competition stuff. Joe Tippmann was a top 10 center in the NFL last year, and I don't believe for 1 second that Josh Myers is a legitimate threat to his job. Joe Tippmann is a very good player, and I think he is a top 3 offensive lineman on the roster right now and would be a top 3 offensive lineman on most NFL rosters. I think he's a very good player. Now do I double up again? So it's just like basically on this season, right? Like how good we think they're going to be this year. All right, man. Then I got to do this. Give me right guard Elijah Vera Tucker. Let me finish off the offensive line. It's good that all
the offensive linemen are off the board already.
Yeah, that says a lot about this Jets roster. That in the first 13 picks,
the running back, the quarterback, the receiver, and the whole O-line.
The entire offensive line. Elijah Vera Tucker is a very good player. I'm not sure he's going to be with the Jets beyond this year. I think one of him or Simpson might end up walking, but provided he stays healthy, and he stayed healthy last year for the most part. Elijah Vera Tucker is a very good player. I believe he was a top 10 guard rated by PFF at PFF in the entire NFL. Loki had a very good season last year, and I think with the non-Keith Carter coaching staff now, I think he could be in line for an even better year. So give me Elijah Vera Tucker.
Justin, I need to beef up my defense. I haven't taken that many defensive players.
Yeah, there's an obvious pick here. I think there's an obvious pick.
Well, I'm going to get one out of the way because he's a guy who, again, it's a lot of projecting, but it's got to be Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah, that the only reason I passed on him was because of this year one back from the Achilles.
No idea what we're going to get from him. And he was not that explosive, speedy guy before this. So after it, I'm really concerned, but
he would have been higher. I would have had him above McDonald.
I like the stylistic contrast so much, though, between him and McDonald. I think they complement each other very well. Right after it, a lot of Jets had down years last year, and a lot of guys are hoping for bounce back years. A guy perpetually underrated for his whole career. Give me Michael Carter. Give me Michael Carter.
I knew that was coming. Another one where you're just, hoping that he stays healthy.
Yeah, was it a hip or a knee or a hamstring or what was it? It was something. He played for like 10 plays and leave every game. It was really weird.
Yeah, I think
fully healthy, one of the better nickel cornerbacks you're going to see in the league.
Okay.
Now it gets tricky. Now it's scary.
Now it's scary hours. That's the top 15 players off the board. Now we're getting into a conversation where I'm like, damn, do I take Alan Lazard? Like, now we're getting into that conversation. I mean, look, I got to swing for the fences with one of these picks, right? I won't swing yet. The first pick I'm going to take, yeah, I think I feel safe saying this. Give me Andre Cisco. I think Andre Cisco is a perfectly fine starting safety who is coming off the worst year of his career, but if he's like what he did in his previous 2 years in Jacksonville, I think he could be the best safety easily on this Jets roster. I think it's fair to say he's a top 16 player. I don't think there's a player that I would have rather had over him at this spot. Hence why I took Andre Cisco. Zach and Chad is really pounding the table here for Braylon Allen. We'll see if Braylon Allen gets taken. I don't know. I'm not going to take him here, though. Instead, here's where I'm going to swing for the fences. Is this a little optimistic for what he could contribute in his rookie year? Possibly. But I want a guy who I think is going to be a starter right out the gate, and I think he's just a good player.
Yeah, it's got to be Mason Taylor.
It might be a little early to say that he's a top 20 player on the roster. I'm very optimistic about what he could do. And also the other part of it is rookie tight ends don't tend to produce very well. There's not a lot of rookie tight ends
who really produce.
Who have crazy rookie years. But I don't think Mason Taylor's going for 800 yards this year, but even like 500 would be an awesome rookie year. Like if Mason Taylor finishes this year with like 35, 40 catches for 500 yards, I'd be very happy with that. And I think that'd be a good rookie season.
Now it's getting lean here. Do I take Braylon Allen with one of these two picks?
You could. You could have both running backs
if I want. You know what? I'm going to take Braylon Allen here.
Wow.
Because I do believe Tanner Engstrand, not that he's going to go replace Breece Hall with Braylon Allen, but that Braylon Allen is going to have some sort of a role on this team. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Zach's going to be.
Now, it's one of two offseason acquisitions I'm deciding between. It's either Josh Reynolds or Brandon Stevens. No Lazard. I think Reynolds would probably be 2 over Lazard, if I'm being honest. And I feel like there's a higher chance that Reynolds sticks around because they may just say screw it with the Lazard contract and get rid of him, the old regime holdover.
It would be funny to put Lazard on this list, and then
what does it say about Darren Muji that his big free agent acquisition might not crack the top 20?
And then Josh Reynolds could make it over.
I'm gonna say, you know what? I can't do it. It's got to be Brandon Stevens.
Okay, I'm glad you did it because I don't think I was gonna do it.
It's gonna be Brandon Stevens only because Aaron Glenn probably went to Darren Muji also and said, I know for sure I can fit. You got to trust me on this. I guarantee you that was part of it. And I do generally trust Aaron Glenn on defensive back play, especially cornerback play. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be particularly great because I think there's also going to have to be some sort of moving around because Zaire Thomas is here and they want to get him out. But he's Aaron Glenn's pet project, and I trust Aaron Glenn on defense specifically. So Brandon Stevens it is to round out my top 10.
All right. I'm realizing now my pass catchers are it's literally
It's
just
Mason Taylor.
My pass catchers at the moment.
You're running a single
Taylor.
wing here. You're running a wishbone.
I that wasn't actually a typo at the beginning. Sauce Gardner was playing corner and wide receiver for me. No other choice. Actually, probably the worst corner I could have picked to play wide receiver. That man cannot catch. I bet Cisco could play receiver. I gotta go wide receiver. I gotta go pass catcher here, which means I'm between Reynolds and Lazard. I'm not gonna take an Isaiah Davis. I'm not gonna take Jeremy Ruckert. God forbid. I don't think there's a defensive player here. Tony Adams is the only other guy I think.
And even then, I think, as we've mentioned on the JetPress.com, Connor Hughes has reported, basically said if they're going to make a late season free agent acquisition, late offseason rather, look for the safety market. Brought up Justin's guy, Julian Blackman again. Zachary Burner says Arian Smith can be great if he catches the ball. Yeah, if I was 7'2", I'd be in the NBA, but here we are.
Yeah. It's a big requirement playing wide receiver. I guess I don't like it, but I want to take like a swing. I want to be like, give me Tyler Johnson. He's going to have a big year, but I can't justify saying that Tyler Johnson is a top 20 player in the Jets roster. I can't do it. And as sad as it might sound, now, you know what? Damn it. I'm so stuck between Lazard and Reynolds because I think Lazard's better. I do think Lazard is a better player than Josh Reynolds. Reynolds last year,
but he also didn't he get shot too? I mean, he had everything went wrong for him.
I know. I understand the context. I understand that he was shot. I understand that, but he was split between two teams last year. He didn't really do anything, and obviously he was playing through some nefarious circumstances. But the best year of his career, he had 600 yards with the Lions, and that was 2 years ago now. I gotta say Allen Lazard, and I don't like it. I don't like it. But as of right now, I think Allen Lazard is a top 20 player.
It's not like top 20 is some great honor here. I mean,
No, it's not. I mean, there's only 53 guys that make the team, and I'm not even positive Allen Lazard is one of them. But I think, look, you got Brandon Stevens on your list, okay? It's not like you got a player who is not also an extreme liability last year as well. So, and I think Lazard was better last year than Stevens was relative to their position, which is not saying much.
They better figure out that contract, man. This better work out, Aaron Glenn. We're trusting you with this.
You want to read your top 10?
My top 10 is Garrett Wilson, Quinnen Williams, Breece Hall, Armand Membu, Justin Fields, Olu Fashanu, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Carter, Braylon Allen, and Brandon Stevens. Justin has Sauce Gardner, Quincy Williams, Jamie Sherwood, John Simpson, Will McDonald, Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, Andre Cisco, Mason Taylor, and Allen Lazard.
I think that's reasonable. I think there is no. I think you were.
I might have been, but also if I took him 6, is that really gonna,
I think saying that Fields is right now better than Tippmann. Vera
would
Tucker
you have taken Fields if I didn't take him there?
No, I would have. If you don't go Fields there, I'd probably still go McDonald and Tippmann. Now, you went Fields and Fosh.
Tippmann, Vera Tucker.
I would have gone Tippmann, Vera Tucker with. I
also would have taken Jermaine Johnson at 6 anyway. So.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. If you didn't, I guess I would have gone. Yeah, it sucks because Johnson's a good player, but if we're just going based on what I think they're going to do this year, I don't know what he's going to look like. Like Jermaine Johnson is better than where he was picked here. I just don't know year one coming back from the Achilles. What
if this Jermaine was Johnson before the Achilles and we're coming off 2023, where do you think he would go?
I think he goes, for me, 6 or 7.
Like behind overall,
Breece? Overall. Yeah, like behind. I put him ahead of John Simpson. I put him ahead of Breece Hall as well. Well, if we're saying Breece Hall after 2024, but Jermaine Johnson after 2023, yes, I would take Jermaine Johnson over Breece Hall. Yeah. Hey, we got one vote for me. Let's go. Garrett said I think Justin wins.
It's a good thing Kirk Cousins wasn't here. Justin would have picked him number 1 overall.
back to this. I wanted Justin Fields and they got Justin
Yeah,
Fields.
tell it to the judge.
I think Zachary is going to pick you, though, because he wanted Braylon Allen.
Arian Smith for a dark horse pick. That is an extremely dark horse. That is a pitch black horse.
Maybe I could have gotten Zachary's vote. Maybe I could have gotten Zachary's vote if I went Arian Smith.
I really do think – all right, here's a bold prediction. By the end of the year, I think he's wide receiver 3. Arian Smith.
Who? Smith? My prediction – I have a similar-ish wide receiver prediction. Maybe – and this will be – fuck no.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. No. I had the audacity. My bad. Okay. Jeez.
Genuinely, God, no. No offense. I'm so sorry. This is why he blocked me on Twitter. No, my wide receiver prediction, and maybe this can be workshop. Maybe it'll be workshop. Tyler Johnson, wide receiver 2, end of the year. I like Tyler Johnson. I'm a Tyler Johnson fan. I want to make that clear now that I think he has a chance to be better than Allen Lazard and Josh Reynolds.
Disappointing the Shrine Bowl. I remember that because when I went that year, he was supposed to be like one of the big. He was like a fringe first-round pick for a while, out of Minnesota, and then he just Shadur Sanders level bombed his pre-draft process, and I think he got picked in like the 6th round or something.
Well, listen, man, James Morgan was a standout at the
so was Alex Heisler was the best player there, and he's pretty good. So sometimes it works out.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. Tyler Johnson, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on the show, but he impressed me a lot in limited reps with the Rams last year. I think his contested catch rate was exceptionally high.
It just feels like a leaving Sean McVay tax, doesn't it, though?
It's just an extremely
What was the
low
white
bar
dude from Notre Dame with the Polish name? Skoranek. Yeah.
Ben Skoranek. Ben Skoranek.
It sounds Eastern European.
Some kind of European.
Yep.
Some kind of European.
I
mean, like it's a low bar to say.
But yeah. For the Titans, Skoransky, I was getting them mixed up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Peter.
But now that we're getting into Eastern European name etymology, I think it's time to call time of the Jet Press podcast. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Sorry for the technical delays, but we did our best to overcome what our computer overlords have thrown in front of us, and we hope you guys gave you a good show. After that, you can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can subscribe on YouTube, like the stream on YouTube. Doesn't cost you a dime. You can support the show that way. Mr. Fried, how are we feeling about this show?
It was fun. I liked the offseason. It's more relaxed. It's a lot less stuff going on, so we have more time to be creative with these ideas. If you guys have any ideas that you want to see us do on the podcast in the coming months, because there's not a lot going on, we have some ideas that we're already workshopping. But if you guys have anything you want to see, always let us know. We would love to I don't know, acquiesce and provide some content you guys want to see. But anyway, actually, yeah. Also, tell us who won that draft. Tell us if it was me. It was me. But tell us if it was me.
All praise to @Mike Luciano and all criticism to @Justin T. Fried. That's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, that sounds about fair. But anyway, until next week, thank you all for joining us on the show. You can follow Mike on Twitter @Mike Luciano. Follow me on Twitter @Justin T. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get podcasts. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. You could also become a member today. It is 99 cents. You get your comments prioritized in chat. It is an amazing way to help support the show, and we appreciate everybody who does that. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano.
Hopefully the tech gods are a bit more merciful next time.